Albert Einstein said, "Everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will spend the rest of its life believing it is stupid." Today, America is losing its soul. And it's not because of a controversial issue like how our economy is doing, or the state of our politics, or even how we treat the environment. It's actually something many Americans agree on, and that's the loss of art in our schools. So, according to Americans for the Arts, 88% of Americans agree that art education is essential. So why is it going away, and why aren't we doing something about it? We don't seem to be paying attention. If you scroll through the news and go back a couple of years, there are very few stories about education and the fact that the arts really are declining there. Also, look up our current Secretary of Education. Many of her concerns revolve around charter schools and expanding them, and making private school more accessible to low-income families. The arts are not at the top of her priority list. Because of this lack of concern, our numbers are actually dropping pretty quickly. 80% of school districts had their budgets cut in 2008, according to the National Education Association. Art schools dropped from being in 94% of K-12 schools to being in just 87% nationwide. Dance and theater programs, which used to be in about 20% of schools, are now just in 3% of schools in the case of dance and 4% of schools in the case of theater. Many students find passion in these activities. So these numbers are very harsh. They mean over 1 in 10 students have no access to art education at all. Because of this, we're losing out on important skills. According to Walden University, art education expands our abilities for critical thinking and problem solving. Even though we're college students and it may not seem like K-12 schools affect us that much, we have to think that eventually many of us will go on to have children, and they will be directly impacted by this loss. We also have to wonder that since many colleges receive federal and state funding, how long will it be until they are affected? We need to be able to stand up to the government and let them know that this is not okay. And there are many ways we can do this. One way to do this is to just attend meetings in your local community about education. While you're there, you can vote in favor of the arts, likely with a simple raise of your hand. You can also engage at a federal level in the voting booth. Vote yes for any education taxes. Although this does have the negative side effect that we will pay more taxes, we have to admit that that's funding for art programs in schools isn't just going to come out of thin air. Another thing you can do is send letters to our government representatives regarding your stance on education. This lets them know what people really want to see them focus on. People you can send letters to include Betsy DeVos, our current Secretary of Education. There's also Salud Carbajal, who is the representative of the 24th Congressional District in the House of Representatives. That area includes SLO County and Santa Barbara County. And you can also send letters to Kamala Harris and Dianna Feinstein, who are the California senators. All of the information to do this, including the mailing addresses, is located on the Congress website. Don't just limit your activism to writing letters and raising your hand. Use your voice as well. You can attend protests and marches. can also ask the tough questions when you attend these meetings. And in today's day and age, use social media. You may not think you have a lot of followers, but truth is, your followers have followers, their followers have followers, and so on. The cool and slightly scary thing about the internet is that it doesn't take much for something to go viral. We need to start using our voices to help it reach Congress. If Congress understand that yes, Americans do care about the arts, they will likely direct public policy to reflect that. Times where this has happened in the past include several environmental protection bills, a small selection of healthcare bills, and of course, here's a big one, women's rights. Women spoke up from around the country about being able to vote and having equal pay. And slowly but surely, bills have mounted up to help us. For those who are afraid and go, but what about the people who don't believe in the arts? There are quite a few counter arguments for that. Many people, first off, think that art won't go far as a lifelong passion. But art actually develops several centers in the brain. And these centers are what help us with our creative and critical thinking, with our problem-solving skills, and with us finding the out-of-box solutions that life generally requires. Another counter-argument to having the arts in our schools is that only a select few really are creative. Well, if we don't include the arts in our schools, some students won't even have the option to find out if they're creative in the first place. And we also have to consider that art isn't just about the creativity. As stated earlier, it develops those critical thinking and problem-solving skills. It also leads to greater exposures in areas such as religion, race, different ideas that people have, and also in the cases of programs like dance and theater, it leads to teamwork and learning how to effectively work with a team. If we choose to stay silent about the arts and the loss of them, it is most likely that the schools will continue to lose art programs, and children will remain uneducated about the arts and lose out on the benefits of knowing about them. And those who are more creative will go with untapped potential that could have gone far otherwise. If we speak up, though, it's worth noting that Congress does have the job to listen to its citizens. The moving away from arts and the continuous budget cuts could come to a halt and eventually start to reverse themselves. Students in K-12 schools will likely receive a more well-rounded education that will prepare them for college and the real job world. Right now, though, that's not what's happening. We're still losing art in our schools, and no one really seems to care. We need to speak up, though. A lot of people believe that their voice doesn't matter because the world out there is so crowded, and there are many people with loud voices that say that the arts aren't important. But in truth, they lead to greater critical thinking and problem-solving skills. And frankly, if you just manage to start a little spark, you can start a wildfire. People can regain their confidence in speaking up for education. If we stay silent, we will continue to lose the arts. But if we speak up, we can make the changes that we need to continue them.